CTV News with Mitsumi Takahashi.
Good evening. There was a shooting at a Starbucks in Laval today, and instantly it caught the attention of Quebec's police forces and its politicians. They say it's got all the hallmarks of organized crime. It was very public. 10:30 in the morning at a strip mall just off the 440. A man in his 40s is dead. 2 other people are injured. Now, Jack, there were a lot of people in the area when the shooting happened.
That's right, Mitsumi. This happened around 10:30 in the morning when police received the call in broad daylight in this very busy strip mall. Now, 3 people were found after the police received the 911 call about gunshots. When they arrived on scene, 1 man in his 40s was dead. Now, despite the SQ taking over the case, police have not confirmed multiple reports that the victim is involved in organized crime known by the name Bobby the Greek. Late this afternoon, the mayor of Laval held a press conference to reassure the public and adding they have increased patrols in the area.
Unacceptable what we saw today, to have such violence in a public space in front of families, in front of people. To us, obviously, we don't want this in our city.
Roughly a 400-meter stretch has been closed for the investigation since this morning. As police interviewed witnesses to the shooting, here is what one witness told us.
We don't expect, I've never seen an active shooter. I don't even know exactly what happened still yet, but definitely scary. And not to know also what's happening was a little bit intense. I mentioned we had a kid, he's not, a teenager, but we had a child with us, so trying to communicate with his mom who was scared for him. Yeah, it was just a bit intense. We didn't hear anything from the inside of the building or saw anything happen, so it's just kind of the police presence, and then after that, it kind of all took off.
Now, the SQ did not confirm whether any suspects have been arrested or even identified, but they did reassure that there is no threat to public safety and that the 2 others that were injured are expected to live. Mitsumi.
Thanks very much, Jack. And that was Jack Richardson in Laval. Now, this morning's shooting set off alarm bells among people familiar with organized crime. Among them, former police officers and Quebec's public security minister. Now, Matt, it's clear they are concerned.
Yes, a lot of concern, Mitsumi, and a lot of reaction to this shooting. Yann Lafrenière, Quebec's public security minister, was a police officer for many years before entering politics. He says a shooting in broad daylight in a public place could have injured innocent bystanders. Lafrenière says police need to keep cracking down on organized crime. Now, we also spoke with former police detective Pietro Paletti. He says organized crime is in a state of flux. There's a lack of leadership among the crime groups. Paletti says the situation surrounding organized crime is only going to get worse, and police face challenges in trying to stop organized crime.
When shooting like that happen, it's just confirming us that we're at the right place. We need to maintain pressure on organized crime. And this is my duty, this is my job, this is my mandate, and believe me, it's going to happen every day.
Anybody that drives around with a bulletproof vehicle with 3 bodyguards is definitely not distributing food baskets for the poor. So, and I'm sure the officers, they have crossed police cars yesterday, the day before, months prior, and they refrain from pulling over these people, these individuals, because of fear of repercussions from the hierarchy and the public outcry.
Paletti says the victim who died was very well known in the crime world. For the latest on this story, you can head to our website, ctvnewsmontreal.ca. Mitsumi?
Thanks very much, Matt. For the past 33 years, a man has claimed he was imprisoned for crimes he didn't commit. Well, now he could be a step closer to freedom. The Quebec Crown Prosecutor's Office admits there might have been a miscarriage of justice. Stéphane Giroux has the story.
The Quebec Crown Prosecutor's Office, commonly known as the DPCP, openly acknowledges that this man, Daniel Jolivet, might have been wrongly convicted of a quadruple murder in Brossard in 1992. We now believe that the allegation of miscarriage of justice against Mr. Jolivet is not without merit, wrote Prosecutor Benoit Lauzon to Jolivet's lawyer. It's a decision that Jolivet Jolivet, who's now 67, waited for more than 3 decades.
You know, it's been like 30 years. We've been saying the same thing, that Mr. Jolivet is the victim of a miscarriage of justice because of many elements that were not disclosed in this file.
Danielle Jolivet's case was the subject of a lengthy investigation on CTV's W5 2 years ago. In 1992, Jolivet was arrested and charged with the murders of 2 known drug dealers in Brossard, along with 2 women believed to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. Jolivet, a career criminal, admitted he knew the victims, but insisted he wasn't the killer.
They were my friend. Never.
Jolivet was found guilty based on the testimony of Claude Riendeau, another known criminal, in exchange for a reduced sentence. Jolivet spent decades trying to clear his name, until he convinced volunteer lawyers to take up his case. The lawyers in turn convinced the Crown to take a second look at the evidence.
They took the matter very seriously, and well, we had finally a letter that in which they confirmed that some elements were not disclosed in Mr. Jolivet's trial.
The problem is that despite the prosecution's admission, Jolivet remains behind bars, and for him to get out requires the permission of one person.
The only person who can order a new trial or can send a file to the Court of Appeal is the Minister of Justice of Canada.
We contacted Sean Fraser's office, but we didn't get a reply on time for this newscast. For Jolivet, it means he's once again at the mercy of a system he says let him down 33 years ago. Stéphane Giroux, CTV News.
Police in Gatineau have made an arrest in a cold case. It concerns a young woman who was killed 14 years ago. The body of 18-year-old Valérie Leblanc was found in a wooded area near the Cégep de l'Outaouais in 2011. She'd been beaten and burned. Well, today, a 51-year-old man, Stéphane Rivard, was charged with first-degree murder.
I hope that this step or this announcement yesterday can bring a little peace to the family and people surround close to the family. But yeah, you're right. The event, the homicide itself shook Gatineau, shook Ottawa, Gatineau region. You know what? It shook all the police organization.
Police aren't saying what led to this arrest, but they do say that the $10,000 reward that was being offered in the case will go unclaimed. The woman who was attacked in her home in Saint-Charles-sur-Richelieu last week has died of her injuries. Emergency crews were called early Friday morning for a 44-year-old woman who'd been injured. The woman's husband has been arrested and charged. A publication ban prevents naming the woman who died. A woman has been found dead in her apartment weeks after her death. A man in Saint-Jérôme is now facing a first-degree murder charge. Here's Sweeta Rassi.
43-year-old Gabi Renault was found dead in her Saint-Jérôme apartment on Saturday. The accused is Jonathan Blanchet. Authorities believe Renault was killed around September 7th. The 45-year-old man was arrested on Monday and charged with first-degree murder. Nancy Boucher used to be in a relationship with Blanchet that she describes as toxic. During their 4 years together, she says she was physically assaulted. Blanchet was arrested numerous times. He eventually served more than 3 years in prison. Boucher says Renault reached out to her online, sharing intimate details about the abuse she says she experienced in the relationship. Boucher believes it was a cry for help. Melpa Camateros is with Shield of Athena. She says it can be hard for victims to get out of an abusive relationship.
Because there's the cycle of violence in it, where there's the expansion of violence, there's the explosion of violence, there's the honeymoon period, and then that cycle repeats itself.
She adds she wants to see stronger laws protecting victims of conjugal violence. Boucher says she wants to see that too. She says she feels guilty for not helping Renault get out of a relationship with a man who has a history of violence and numerous arrests on his record. As for Blanchet, he appeared in court yesterday on a first-degree murder charge and is currently detained. His next court appearance is scheduled for November 7. Sweeterassi, CTV News.
Police have made an arrest in connection with a fire that destroyed the home of a Montreal porn executive. A suspect was already in custody on charges of an attempted murder in another case. The arson attack was in April of 2021 at a luxury home under construction in Cartierville. The home was being sold by Ferras Antoun. He's an executive at ALO, the world's largest porn company. Police say there could be more arrests. Quebec has backtracked on another controversial directive in education. The new education minister, Sonia Lebel, is giving school boards and service centres more leeway when it comes to hiring. Here's Olivia O'Malley.
School boards and service centres will now be allowed to hire more staff. Education Minister Sonia Lebel says they can exceed hiring limits as long as they respect their budgets.
The priority is giving services to the students and respecting their budget. We'll work with them.
In June, Lebel's predecessor, Bernard Drinville, cut the education budget by $570 million. Following months of outcry, he reinvested $540 million, but there were conditions. To get that money, school boards and service centers had to respect hiring limits. So when students went back to class, specialists like special needs educators and speech therapists were missing, says opposition leader Marwa Rizki.
And we're missing so many staff in the school system. So yes, this is again another mistake from Mr. Legault trying to make cuts on the back of the students.
In a statement sent to CTV News, the Lester B. Pearson School Board says we are encouraged by the news. Our main objective in budget building is always to try and minimize the impacts of compressions on direct services to students, so this is seen as a positive development. The FAE Teachers Union says more clarification is needed, but that Lebel is reversing the damage left behind by Drainville. Quebec Solidaire education critic Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois agrees.
It's a step in the right direction. It's a good news for the public education system, and it's rare. It's so rare that we have good news for education system. So when it happens, we have to say it and we have to celebrate it.
Nadeau-Dubois says all the conditions tied to getting funding must be lifted so schools themselves can focus on helping students succeed. Olivia O'Malley, CTV News, Quebec City.
The health minister has agreed to put a hold on Bill 106 for now. The bill links doctors' pay to the number of patients they see. Christian Dubé has agreed not to move forward in the bill while talks are being overseen by a mediator. The first meeting with the medical specialists, the government and the mediator has already taken place. Jane Goodall has died. She is the scientist who changed forever the way we think about chimpanzees and about animals. She died today. She was 91 years old. Here's Ann Thompson.
It was perhaps a basic instinct that chimpanzees recognized they had a friend in Jane Goodall, the young British woman with little scientific training who went to Tanzania in 1960 and changed the way we look at these great apes by doing everything established scientists thought was wrong.
When I got to Cambridge finally, they were totally horrified. I'd named the chimps instead of numbering them. I talked about them having personalities. I talked about them having minds and being able to have rational thoughts and emotions, happiness, sadness, fear. And all of these things were supposed to be attributes only of humans.
She discovered the chimps could make tools, described wars between groups of chimps, and captivated the world.
Fortunately, when I was a child, I had a great teacher who taught me that in this respect, these erudite scientists were completely wrong, and that was my dog, Rusty.
The child that fell in love with Tarzan of the Apes, as an adult, conducted her research by immersing herself in the chimp's habitat for endless hours of observation, building trust with her subjects.
Being out in the wild, you know, back when I dreamed of it, there was nobody doing anything like that.
Goodall devoted her life to the protection of the chimps and the earth, fighting against the destruction of forests and more recently climate change that threaten this endangered species.
If all around the world the importance of protecting and restoring forests was understood, that would go a long way towards mitigating the effects of climate change.
Goodall married twice and had one son, But her lasting legacy is the relationship forged in the wild.
I want to be remembered for having helped people to understand the true nature of animals, that they do matter as individuals, that they do have a part to play in the scheme of things, and they're not just objects, they're beings, and they're part of it.
Teaching us about chimpanzees and ourselves. Ann Thompson, NBC News.
Ottawa has rejected a proposal from Marineland to export 30 beluga whales to China.
This is a very difficult decision to make, but it is rooted in the Fisheries Act, and I'm proud that in Canada we do have an act that is very specific around the treatment of whales in particular.
Marineland remains closed, and it has been selling off parts of its theme park. In 2019, Ottawa passed a law. It bans the practice of keeping and breeding whales and dolphins for entertainment. The fate of a flock of ostriches in British Columbia is on hold pending a decision by the Supreme Court later this week. And the controversy over their fate has gone violent. Judy Trin has details.
What is going on? We're dealing with another issue altogether.
Last week, when the RCMP descended on the Universal Ostrich Farm to assist the Canadian Food Inspection Agency in a planned cull, the Mounties were sidetracked by a chilling 911 call.
I was so into the fear that I was going to get lit on fire.
Lois Wood says that just after sunrise, she saw a masked man dressed in black pouring gas around her home. When she confronted him, the intruder threw gas on her. The 72-year-old went into fight mode.
This is primal. This is survival. And I bit his upper arm as hard as I could, and he punched me in the face and knocked me down.
Wood's home is next to the ostrich farm. Since the government ordered the flock destroyed after avian flu was detected,
you know this is wrong.
Dozens of supporters have set up camp to protect the birds. Police say they have arrested a suspect.
We believe he was attached to the protest camp.
A Conservative MP is also urging the Agriculture Minister to stop the slaughter and is cautioning supporters to stay calm.
Any violence or anything off that moves from the beaten path of peaceful protest is going to result in bad things for the ostriches. Political support will dry up.
The farm's owners say they helped remove the suspect and that their supporters are not a threat. In a statement, spokesperson Katie Pisitny questioned why mainstream media would choose to publish a negative and false representation of the farm, just as the country's highest court was weighing whether it deserved a chance at justice.
The cull of more than 300 birds is currently on hold. The Supreme Court will decide later this week if it will hear the farm's appeal to overturn a government order to destroy the birds. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
Quebec has issued a ban on open fires in the western part of the province because of the very dry conditions. The ban is in place from the Ontario border through Vaudreuil, de Montagne, Joliette, and Abitibi-Témiscamingue. There are currently 7 fires burning in Quebec. And transit workers say they're disappointed that the STM no longer wants to work with a mediator that was appointed by Quebec. The mediator had been working with both sides since mid-June, and the mandate expired yesterday. The STM says it is open to work with a different third party, but the union is claiming that management is not willing to make any changes. The transit strike will continue this evening and Friday. Hasbro is opening a new video game studio here in Montreal. The studio will focus on creating games based on Dungeons & Dragons. Managers say the strength of the programming talent pool here was a key factor in choosing the city, as was a provincial tax credit. About 200 people will be hired.
We're really excited to be here, and it's been great just as we've gone through the process of selecting the location, just to see everyone from the Wizard side and the Hasbro side get really excited and really invested. Obviously, we've been thrilled with Invoke Studios, and it's a great team, fantastic group out here, and the talent in the city is just really next to none, right? I mean, I've had the advantage of working in various parts of North America, and the concentration of video game talent in Montreal is really second to none. So tremendously excited to be here.
There are 250 game studios in Montreal. It employs nearly 15,000 people. And coming up, what will happen if Hamas says no?
I would let them go and do what they have to do.
But with that threat looming, there is still no response to the U.S. plans for a ceasefire. And the U.S. government has shut down, and Donald Trump is threatening mass layoffs. There's been a powerful earthquake in the Philippines, and a state of emergency has been declared. It was a 6.9 magnitude earthquake. It struck central Philippines late last night. And this comes just over a week after back-to-back typhoons killed more than a dozen people there. A bomb threat shut down the Oktoberfest fairgrounds in Munich for much of the day. Police believe the threat came from a suspect that's linked to an earlier explosion in northern Munich. That explosion in a residential building killed at least one person. Police say the threat was found in a letter, leading to a full shutdown and search of the fairgrounds. There is still no response from Hamas. Donald Trump says his latest ceasefire proposal was on Monday. The Israeli Prime Minister said on Monday that he does support the plan. And as they wait, Israeli forces continue their move into Gaza. Rena Roy has the latest.
The clock is ticking for Hamas to respond to President Trump's 20-point plan for a ceasefire in Gaza. Trump saying he'll give Hamas several days to respond and threatening if they don't agree, it will be, quote, a very sad end. Also saying Israel will have his full backing.
I would let them go and do what they have to do.
It comes as Israeli defense forces close in on Gaza City, ordering all Palestinians to leave. Israeli officials saying those who remain in Gaza will be considered terrorists and terror supporters. Video shows the aftermath of a massive Israeli strike today. You can see two women and a child sitting by a tent as thick smoke rises behind them. President Trump announced his peace proposal earlier this week, standing side by side with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. It would require Hamas to release all of the remaining hostages inside Gaza and agree not to have any role in the governance of Gaza in any form. In exchange, Israel will not occupy or annex Gaza and would slowly withdraw its forces, though not fully.
All parties will agree on a timeline for Israeli forces to withdraw in phases. They'll be withdrawing in phases.
In the last 24 hours alone, the Hamas-run health ministry says more than 50 Palestinians were killed. Several were trying to collect humanitarian aid. Nearly 200 people also wounded. As the humanitarian crisis there grows, this flotilla filled with aid aiming to break the naval blockade set up by Israel, so volunteers from around the world can reach the thousands of Palestinians in need of food and supplies. At one point, Israeli warships surrounded that flotilla, organizers calling it an intimidation tactic, saying that their mission is peaceful. But some global leaders argue that it puts peace talks at risk. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Hundreds of thousands of government workers in the United States reported to their jobs today unpaid. Others were just told to stay home. Meanwhile, the Democrats and the Republicans are blaming each other. Olivia Rubin has the latest from Capitol Hill.
Just hours into the government shutdown and no end in sight.
How long do you think this will go, Mr. Speaker? I hope it's short.
Democrats once again today voting down a Republican bill to temporarily fund the government.
That's not a Republican shutdown when nearly every single Senate Democrat votes to shut it down and every Republican voted to open it up.
But Democrats holding firm, demanding Republicans reverse cuts to Medicaid and extend expiring Obamacare subsidies to prevent insurance premiums from rising for some 20 million Americans.
Donald Trump and Republicans have barreled us into a shutdown because they refuse to protect Americans' health care.
Trump and many Republicans falsely claiming Democrats pushing for health care to undocumented immigrants, though that's not accurate.
They prioritize taxpayer-funded benefits for illegal aliens over keeping the government open for American citizens.
Now, the White House today putting $18 billion worth of New York City infrastructure funding on hold. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is from New York.
When the Democrats shut down the government, we have to actually do a little triage to make sure the most critical and most essential services are provided.
With lawmakers deadlocked, the president turning to mocking Democratic leaders, posting a second AI-generated video on social media, showing Democratic House Leader Hakeem Jeffries wearing a sombrero and a fake mustache.
Oh, I think it's funny. The president's joking, and we're having a good time. You can negotiate in good faith while also poking a little bit of fun at some of the absurdities of the Democrats' positions.
And today, essentially looking like a failure for any measure to fund the government to move forward. The next time lawmakers are expected to be back here to try again, not until Friday, day 3. Olivia Rubin, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
Coming up, where will the asylum seekers go?
But this is my shelter. Yeah, this is my house now.
The shelters are full, and now the hotels are no longer an option. And cybersecurity. And what do thefts of cell phones have to do with it?
Men's fashion is supplied by Ernest. Style for every moment. Ernest.
Cyber attacks come in many forms. Last week in the U.S., reports of a plot to try to paralyze New York City's entire telecommunications system. Hundreds of servers that could release 30 million anonymous text messages a minute. Meanwhile, in our daily lives, we worried about our bank cards, we worry about our cell phones. Mark Duchesne is a cybersecurity expert with PwC Canada. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, Mark.
Thank you for having me.
So most of us don't know very much about cybersecurity other than, don't open the attachments, be careful with banking information. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Being unaware of cybersecurity can be a very dangerous thing, can't it?
Oh yes, not knowing about cybersecurity can be risky. Cyber threats are always changing. Attackers are finding new ways to exploit weaknesses. And if you're not informed, you could easily fall victim to cyber attacks, leading to data breaches, financial losses, and damage to your own reputation. It's very important to stay updated on cybersecurity best practices in order to protect yourself.
Now, we hear of these massive attacks on cities and major institutions, and then we also hear of these small ones that target individuals. Are they just different degrees of the same thing, or are they different?
It's a very good question. The attacks vary significantly based on the attacker's motivation, essentially. Most cyber attacks that we see today on cities, on businesses, on individuals are conducted by financially motivated cyber criminals. They're looking to extort or defraud people in organizations, ransomware being the most prevalent type of attack. On the flip side, other types of attacks on governments and companies are different, as their goal is to spy, to steal data, or to disrupt services.
And so then I take it then, with what you're describing, the actors behind it is just as varied, the state-sponsored attacks as well as the small-time fraudsters.
Oh yes, you're absolutely right. The actors behind the attacks are varied. To try to simplify this, I sort of grouped them into 4 broad categories. The first category are cyber criminals and fraudsters. They try to steal information, financial information, personal data to make money. The second category is called nation-state actors. So they're government-sponsored groups that spy on other countries or disrupt critical services. The third category is what I call insiders. So they're employees that misuse their access to systems and data for harmful purposes. And finally, there are activists who hack to promote political or social causes. They're normally looking to disrupt, shame organization, but not necessarily make money.
And from what I understand, there can also be larger agents at play behind what seems to be sort of smaller, more benign crimes like the theft of a cell phone.
Oh, definitely. While the theft of a single cell phone or other valuable electronics might seem minor, it can be part of a much larger scheme. Numerous investigations have demonstrated over time that cyber fraud is increasingly being committed by organized crime groups across the globe, and these groups are becoming increasingly structured and established. Organized crime groups see really cybercrime as low risk and high rewards compared to what we consider traditional physical crimes.
Now, a lot of people seem to think that if a cyber attack doesn't affect them directly, they worry about their bank cards and they worry about getting hacked on their computer. But when it happens to other institutions, they don't seem to care very much about it because they say it doesn't affect them. What do you say to that?
Well, you're right. Many people think that, if you're not the direct victim of a cyber attack, you don't need to be concerned. But that's not the case. Cyber threats can have far-reaching consequences that affect everyone. For example, a successful attack on a major institution can disrupt essential services, compromise personal data, and lead to financial losses for individuals who've interacted with this institution. So I always say we should remember 4 tips to remain safe online. First, always use complex passwords or even passphrases and never reuse them anywhere. Secondly, activate multi-factor authentication when available. Things like one-time passcodes, face recognition on your phone, fingerprint, they add an important layer of security. Thirdly, watch out for those fake emails, text messages, but also the fraudulent phone calls trying to trick you into providing your login information or personal data. And finally, report any incident to your financial institution and the police if you think you've been a victim of a cyber attack or if you believe your personal information has been compromised. So in closing, Mutsumi, it's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, so I'd like to encourage everyone to go and see the Government of Canada's getcybersafe.ca website. It's full of tricks and tips to remain safe online.
Okay, very good advice. Thank you very much for this, Mark.
Thank you.
Asylum seekers in Canada no longer have funding for temporary housing in hotels. Advocates say that could lead to homelessness and refugees living in the streets of Canada's biggest cities. Adrienne Gabriel has more.
This is where we housed over 500 men.
Wow. In the summer of 2023, when the number of asylum claimants sleeping on the streets outside this downtown Toronto shelter became too large to ignore.
But this is my shelter. Yeah, this is my house now.
Pastor Judith James opened up her church, Revival Time Tabernacle.
We had to put drapes across these poles here to house women on this side.
To give hundreds fleeing a number of African nations somewhere safe to rest their heads for 2 months.
Just making sure that they were given a level of peace in the midst of their trauma.
Today, temporary federal funding to house asylum seekers in hotels across the country ended. Pastor James is fearful history could repeat itself.
Some have gotten jobs, some haven't. Some have been able to get housing, which we're grateful for, but some have not, because there were so many that came in.
Previously pitched as a stopgap in the face of historic surges in migration, Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada says the federal government has spent roughly $1.1 billion on temporary housing at hotels like this one in Toronto's North End on asylum seekers since 2020. Yet Toronto's mayor says the federal government is still shortchanging Canada's largest city.
And the city is short by $107 million.
West of Toronto, this asylum intake center is nearly full, according to those we spoke with who are staying here. With homeless shelters near capacity in many urban centers and hotel funding no longer an option, some advocates believe Canada is abandoning those we welcomed in.
It is not just an initial take-in, it has to be the systems funneling to ensure that they're served with dignity. Dignity is what humanity deserves.
Just how many asylum claimants are still searching for permanent housing remains unclear. We've asked Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada. We're still awaiting a response. Adrienne Gabriel, CTV News, Mississauga, Ontario.
Weather brought to you by Gratian Scaff's second pair as a gift event, including designer frames for a limited time.
We are are live from Marché Central, specifically at Festi-Lumi, and I am in a pumpkin tunnel right now because this is an immersive experience. It's 1.5 kilometers long with over 20 million, I should say, LED lights. It is truly a sight to be seen. There are actors in costumes here. I know they're doing face painting, and this is going to be going on until basically through into the holiday season, so they will adapt it for Christmas. And when I was speaking with the man behind this project, he was telling me he wanted it to feel like Disneyland, but here at home. So it is certainly very, very cool. Once again, this is running throughout the holiday season as well, so it'll be all set up for Christmas. And why not come back again in another season? So right now it's fall, you'll see it again in the winter. If you are coming down though, let's talk about temperatures because it is slightly on the cooler side. I had to bring out my wool coat. We saw a daytime high of 16 degrees today. That is actually seasonal. However, compared to all the warmer temperatures and the above seasonal temperatures we've been dealing with, certainly felt a little bit cooler, but didn't break any records. 26.5 would have been the record for the warmest day in 2002 that we would have had to surpass if we were to actually hit it. We're going to see the sunset in the next few minutes now. We'll see clear skies overnight and a low of 4 degrees. This has parts of the provinces under a frost advisory because the low is going to be hovering close to the freezing mark. Montreal is not under that advisory at this time. Tomorrow morning we start the day off with sunshine. We could see a few clouds move in just before noon, but mostly sunny skies is what we're forecasting, and a high of 17 or 18 degrees. So once again, right around where we should be for tomorrow. And then if we look at our longer range forecast, it is a little bit all over the place, if you ask me. We're seeing more warmer temperatures Friday pretty much through until next Tuesday. Lots of sunshine in the forecasts. Saturday, we're calling for partly cloudy skies, 23 degrees. 28 for Sunday. So not only is this above seasonal, this is more than 10 degrees. It's almost 12 degrees above seasonal. We see that as well for our Monday. Lots of sunshine. Tuesday, we are calling for mostly sunny skies, a chance of some showers. Wednesday, we're estimating around 9 millimeters of rain in the afternoon, and we will return closer to seasonal. That's all for now.
And coming up, some simple advice that might go far to help a child with anxiety. And they're looking for a greener alternative to gas power motors.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
An all too familiar sight.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. CTVMontreal.ca, your home for news. Your Health, brought to you by Gratian Scaff's second pair is a gift event, including designer frames for a limited time.
There's growing evidence that getting children physically active can improve their mental health. Here's Melissa Adan.
Physical activity could reduce depression and anxiety symptoms in children and adolescents. A Journal of the AMA Pediatrics study found that exercise holds promise to significantly improve young people's mental health. This means fewer depression and anxiety symptoms, more self-confidence, and better social interactions. Physical activity like playing on a sports team or running around a playground could be an alternative or make other treatments like medication and therapy more effective. Mental health influences overall quality of life, so you should definitely take it seriously. In addition, mental disorders are becoming more and more common among young people, which is why your kids' well-being needs special attention. So help your kids stay active. Getting enough exercise has both physical and psychological benefits. Talk to your doctor to learn more. With this Medical Minute, I'm Melissa Adan.
There are new details on the expedition to find Amelia Earhart's long-lost plane. Tom Costello has more on that.
At the Seattle Museum of Flight, a tribute to Amelia Earhart and an exact replica of her Lockheed Electra plane. The very tight cockpit and rudimentary controls that she used while trying to fly around the world in 1937.
I'm impressed by how constricted the space is. Right.
Archaeologist Richard Pettigrew is on a mission to find Earhart's real plane.
Amelia Earhart on a globe-girdling flight with navigator Fred Noonan.
The mystery has lasted for 88 years. What happened to Earhart and Noonan? An international search turned up nothing.
This is the first image.
But now a new team is preparing to head to this remote island in early November, zeroing in on a lagoon. Is that a piece of Earhart's plane peeking above the sand? The satellite photo was snapped in 2015, a year after a massive tropical storm shifted the sand, potentially revealing the plane.
So it could easily be buried by sediment in the water.
Pettigrew will lead the 15-person team to Nikumaroro in Kiribati, a country of remote Pacific islands. 2 boats will take 6 days to get there. The team will cut its way through the jungle to reach the lagoon, then use high-tech tools to search for Earhart's plane under the sand. But Rick Gillespie, who has spent decades writing about and searching for Earhart, says that photo shows a fallen coconut tree, not Earhart's plane, though Earhart did likely crash there.
We've looked there in that spot, and there's nothing there.
Human remains discovered in 1940, then lost, are now thought to have been Earhart's. Previous searches turned up medicine bottles and clothing from the 1930s. Commercial astronaut Sirisha Bandla, a Purdue alum, is joining the search, hoping to bring her role model's plane back home to her alma mater.
Not only did she do those audacious things for women, she helped keep the door open so other women can walk in her footsteps.
Starbucks has closed 8 of its franchise stores in Quebec as part of a restructuring process across North America. 4 of the closures are in the Montreal area with a loss of over 100 jobs. Last month, Starbucks announced it planned to close franchises that were underperforming. Washington confirmed it is taking a stake in another business, and this time it's a Canadian business. Marilla Fernandez has more on that.
The U.S. is taking a 5% stake in a Canadian mining company. Lithium Americas is based in Vancouver, but it's developing a lithium mine in Nevada. Lithium is a critical mineral used to make batteries for electric vehicles. Washington has started picking up stakes in companies it sees as critical to boosting the economy. Amazon is expanding its online retail business, launching a private label grocery brand. It will have dairy, meat, and fresh produce for sale. Most products will be under $5. And you may have to pay for your carry-on, but Air Canada now says the economy cabin passengers will get free wine and beer. Some Canadian-made snacks will also be free. The airline says it's trying to elevate the economy experience. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down 13 cents to 71.73. West Texas Intermediate crude is down to 61.39. Western Canadian Select is down over $1 to 50.39. And the TSX hit another record close today, up 84 points to 30.107. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
It was another win for the Habs in the preseason. Montreal beat Ottawa at the Videotron Centre last night, 5-0. Jacob Dobes made 16 saves to post the shutout for the Canadians. They play the Senators again on Saturday. The Habs have had a good preseason with 4 wins in 5 games. They play the first game of the regular season on Wednesday against Toronto. And former Canadiens captain Max Pacioretty has retired. Pacioretty is now 36 years old. He played 17 seasons in the NHL, 3 seasons as the captain of the Habs. He was traded to the Vegas Golden Knights in 2018. His next job will be as a coach with Michigan hockey. It's not often we hear from the head of the Louvre in Paris, but Matt, it seems she's worried about international museums.
That's right. Laurence Descartes spoke to the Montreal Council on Foreign Relations. She talked about getting people back into museums since Quebec institutions haven't fully recovered since the pandemic. Some ways to make that happen, she says, engaging content and easy access. So we'll hear more from her, and we'll have the latest on that shooting in Laval tonight at 11:30. Itsumi?
Thanks very much, Matt.
Stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here tonight on CTV.
For breaking news and local news that matters to you, download the CTV News app right now by scanning the QR code on your screen using your smartphone. Or you can also go to our website, ctvnewsmontreal.ca.
Mountain goats aren't native to Vermont, but domestic goats are climbing the slopes of mountains. At Jay Peak, goats and sheep are eating their way up and down the mountain. They're creating a smooth surface for snow. It's an experiment. The goats and the sheep are there for 5 weeks, and during that time, they're expected to eat their way through 25 acres. Now, that's not a lot because they've got to mow 300 acres. But so far, so good, they say, and people are pleased with the results. The hope is to try to reduce the number of gas-powered motors. It's a much cooler day today, and it's looking very Halloween-y where you are.
You got that right. I think we can officially say it is the start of spooky season. I know that I feel like a big kid here because it is incredible. The lights display, as I said earlier, we're talking 20 million LED lights, 1.5 kilometers of this immersive experience. Truly, I think it's fun for any age because you do feel like a big kid. So this is going on throughout the season as well as into the holidays. So if you can't come down tonight, you've got lots of time. But if you do plan on coming down tonight, I would suggest you bring layers. A coat is definitely necessary. Let's talk about what we're forecasting for the next 24 hours. So clear skies, which is perfect when you want to see all these beautiful lights. We're looking at a low of 4 degrees. This is on the cooler side. Once again, layers are necessary. We start tomorrow morning off at 5 degrees with sunny skies. And we're looking at a daytime high of 17, mostly sunny skies. We could see a few clouds in the afternoon, but overall it's going to be another nice but cool day ahead.
And that's it for us. Have a good evening. Stay well. Good night.